Phil Murphy here in the ESPN Esports studios, and late last week it was announced that Overwatch League's first commissioner, Nate Nanzer, was stepping down for a position at Epic Games. This came as a bit of a shock to the OWL community because of the success and growth it's experienced under Nanzer, particularly at the most recent homestand in Dallas. Jacob Wolf joins me now to discuss the big news. And Jacob, how much credit in your estimation does Nanzer deserve for Overwatch League growing as it has?
You know, Nate told me a story a few years ago when I was doing reporting that he was essentially at this breakfast in a hotel in Germany, in Cologne, and he went over and he sat down with Jeff Kaplan, who's the lead developer of Overwatch, and basically like pitched him on this big idea of an esports league that was different than everything else that Blizzard was doing in esports. So I would say from the initial idea perspective, he deserves a lot of credit. Obviously, he's been very involved in sort of the development of the league, from selling franchises to getting sponsors to working with players and teams of sort of putting this whole thing together. So I think as their first commissioner, he definitely deserves a lot of credit, and I think he definitely gets that credit. And I think that, you know, this is a pretty big loss, I think, for the Overwatch League with him moving on.
He's heading over to Epic Games to head up their competitive esports operation. They have Fortnite, massive presence online. They have Rocket League as well. What do you make of the move?
So, you know, I heard a couple of months ago that Nate was looking to expand his role at Activision Blizzard to do more than just Overwatch and sort of work in some of the other game titles as well, like Heroes of the Storm and Hearthstone. And I don't think he ultimately ended up doing that. And so I think for him, this is an opportunity to go bigger and work on more things. Epic told us that specifically that he'd be working more on Fortnite than he would Rocket League. Rocket League was, Psyonix was just acquired by Epic, so you know, overall I think they're going to give those people a little bit more time to execute their existing plans. But his first event, sort of in the saddle, is the Fortnite World Cup, which is in July in New York. And you know, I think this is a huge impact for Fortnite that's had a really up and down competitive scene, not a lot of stability, and from tournament to tournament. I think someone like Nate Nanzer, who's done this for a couple of years now, brings a really nice pedigree to Fortnite esports, and hopefully can fix some of those problems.
And he's been a front-facing champion of Overwatch League, as you mentioned, since its inception. So looking back at Overwatch League, who do you look at potentially to replace Nanzer?
In the interim, it's Pete Vlastelica, who's a former executive at Fox Sports and has been in the Activision Blizzard ecosystem shortly after they acquired MLG. He is likely not to stay in that role. I think they would go and try to find someone else because his role is much higher in the company. He actually runs all of esports for their global organization. You know, they recently hired Johanna Ferris, who is a former NFL executive, to oversee their Call of Duty World League franchising. I would look for someone of that pedigree to replace Nate, someone who has worked in traditional sports, whether it be baseball, football, basketball, etc., to come in. A lot of the people in the existing Overwatch organization who Nate was the boss of are from those backgrounds, the NBA, the MLB, and the NFL. So I'd look for someone like that, and I think that's going to be what they look for long term.
Jacob Wolf, incredibly insightful as always. For more of his work, Wolf bombs as they drop. Keep it locked on ESPN.com/esports.